Don't forget that the Kidney Foundation is not in a position to give medical advice. To get specific information on your own situation, please speak to your care team. Now, I want to introduce you my moderator for this session, Dr. Marie-Josée Clermont, pediatric nephrologist at the St. Justin Hospital. Thank you, Philippe, for this introduction, and thank you to the Foundation for letting me moderate this session on the dialogue that we can have with children when we are a parent suffering of kidney disease. We have very interesting panelists with us. We have a father of young teenagers. We have a young couple with 3 young children. And we also have Marie-Ève, who is mother of 2 daughters. First of all, I will just go over some theoretical aspects. I'm a pediatric nephrologist, so I've always worked with families. I also met young parents who suffered from kidney disease. I have experience on the field, on the ground, but I'm not a psychologist or a social worker. Nevertheless, I have some valuable experience. To start off, we can talk about various situations in which patients and families, based on their level of renal kidney function. Of course, you all know that it starts with pre-dialysis or even asymptomatic kidney disease up to dialysis, transplant, a second dialysis, a second transplant. So this is a continuum of treatment and therapies. Sometimes it's very intense. Among all chronic disease, this type of therapy requires a lot of care and technical care. This can lead to mental health issues. Everything that's affected by kidney disease is, first of all, the couple's life, the relationship that can become tense. I'll talk about it later. The children, based on their age, are also affected. Friends, the loved ones, the extended families. It can also affect the decision of having children or not, or to have another child. So it's far-reaching. The disease itself has many effects on family life on a day-to-day basis. Our lives are busy, we're always running, and when we have young children, there's a lot of things going on, school, activities, our own work, and so on. So the disease takes up a lot of our time and a lot of energy. It's better than it was before. Now we have new medications and people feel much better, but still, kidney disease is known for making people irritable. Things are not always easy, diet, thirst, and people take high doses of cortisol. It can make people irritable. All of this can lead to tension between the partners, the parents. This can be compounded by financial issues if one of the partners has to stop working. Family and support is not always easy when parents are young and live in the area. It's fine. Friends, the support of friends, sometimes they have the same, also have a job, they work full time. The disease can also, or can decrease, it's not always the case, and we'll see it today with our guests. There's less sports, less activities at school, performance. There can be issues going on holidays. It's not always easy to go everywhere we want when we are under dialysis. Issues on diet and restrictions. And after the transplant, right away, people try to stay isolated, not to get sick. The care itself, the therapies take time, especially with dialysis. It can take time. You need some place for the devices. You need to master the technique. So when small children are in the house, they have to be kept away from the device. Medication has side effects. This also has an impact on family life. But I think the most delicate situation is when there is a transplant from one parent to the other, where both parents will be in the hospital at the same time. This can lead to a lot of anxiety for the children. I looked at the literature on the effects of chronic disease of parents on children and their development. I didn't specifically search kidney disease, but it still applies. Children can experience worry, insecurity, and stress. They can ask questions on whether they will get the same disease. Smaller children, like pre-K, early school, elementary school, they don't really understand. These children, they feel it when something happens. Disease, stress, tensions, they feel it. Nothing can be hidden from them. Small children react, they get aggressive, they get into trouble, they act out. Older children can worry, maybe can isolate themselves, they go to their friend's house, but all children can experience hardships, social and emotional and behavior problems. But children can grow, mature too quickly, become their parents, become very mature. And that's not necessarily a good thing because small children need to live the life of a small child. It seems from the literature that girls are more vulnerable than boys to having a sick children. If the mother is sick, today is International Women's Day. If the mother is sick, it aggravates the impacts in North America and Canada. The mother is the center, not the center of the home, but she manages the homemaker. She manages the home. But literature also shows that different results based on the complexity of the disease and the progress of the disease. But there are also positive effects on children. These children can learn to take care of themselves at a young age, healthcare, a proper diet. They become aware of all this more quickly, maybe earlier than other children. It makes them resilient. They can be flexible, adaptable, and to understand things that other children would not necessarily understand. Lastly, how can we resolve this? I've written it in English. The entire family has to be integrated into care. And the girls who seem a bit more vulnerable should receive adapted care. Maybe join an association of daughters of ill parents and receive more specific care. When the mother has the disease, she should be supported to raise her small children. As I said in the earlier slide, treating chronic disease must be done for all family members. In adult hospitals, like general hospitals, in these nephrology services. There are always social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, and it's important to speak up when you feel your children are suffering or run into issues that you don't know how to deal with. Today, we'll talk to 3 families who will explain how they manage kidney disease. If you have more specific questions or issues, it's important to speak up and ask for help. There are always services. If it's not directly from the hospital, it can be at community centers, community clinic. You should receive help.
Hi, I'm Nicholas, and this is my lovely wife, Beata. And this is Princess Naomi. So I'm 40 years old. I have 3 kids. Jaden being the oldest, he's 18, Levi 6, and Naomi's 16 months. I have polycystic kidney disease, which is a hereditary illness. And our approach with our kids when discussing the disease has always been with compassion and transparency. We try to be open with our kids. We have a policy in our house, and it's to be humble, open, and transparent. The acronym's HOT, yeah. So go ahead.
I feel that just being open and, you know, to a certain extent, where just anything that we have to deal with the kidney disease, we're just being honest with them, obviously in a way that they can understand at specific ages. Naomi at 16 months, obviously, you know, we don't really have to kind of tell her what's going on, but with Levi being 6 years old, and then also Jaden being 18 years old, there's still a difference in terms of the gap of the age, but we just try and be open, not only just open, but also staying positive in every aspect of the disease, and just trying to look on, you know, the brighter side of things. And, you know, we're bigger than kidney disease. So yeah.
So our conversations with Jaden, he's 18, so it's typically different than how we speak to Levi, who's only 6. But so Jaden, he sort of gets full disclosure of my medical, whereas Levi, he doesn't really need to know what hereditary disease means. I mean, but saying that, it's we feel it's important to make sure our children are well informed and kept current, you know, so when they get older, should they experience any health issues, they'll know how to navigate through it, you know, they'll be prepared, and it'll be a softer landing, easier for them to deal with.
Mm-hmm. I agree in terms of just continuing to stay open regardless of what age they are. And, you know, they see us every day, and however we're acting, or, you know, they're able to absorb that. So we just have to be, you know, a role model in his state, and then also me being the spouse of him having kidney disease, or Nicholas having kidney disease. I just feel that, you know, the support on how we, you know, work as a team. And I feel being a team is so important. Just, you know, me just keeping my health up to par, just in case, you know, if Nicholas gets sick or he feels extra tired after dialysis, I have to, you know, just any of the slack that I have to pick up on top of everything else. We just have to be a team, and, you know, not read each other's minds. And we're also hot, open, and transparent with each other, not just with our children. So I think that being a team is just very crucial. And me, for being a spouse of someone with kidney disease, I feel that me taking care of my health, you know, pouring into my cup and investing in myself, will be able to pour out to, you know, everyone else surrounding. So I feel that that's been very important.
Plus, we can't hide anything from these children nowadays. Anyway, they have access to all kinds of information. So
Yeah.
so it's better that you stay honest with them and build that trust.
Mm-hmm.
it's best for the long run, I feel.
Yeah. So, and also in terms of just instilling, a healthy lifestyle with them, with, what they're eating and stuff like that. Not only do they watch us, but just being physically active and, keeping their bodies healthy physically as well. So we work out together as a family, so we try and make it as fun as possible and get our kids staying active so that it's not so almost a chore when they're growing up, and it's something that's just kind of second nature to them, for them to do. So I feel that that's been, something important in our lives.
Also, we try to make light of it. When I had my line installed, Levi had 21 questions, and I told him that I was an X-Men, and I draw my superhuman strength from here, and we started to wrestle.
Yeah.
He thought it was cool, so I just try to normalize it, because if you hide things, you sort of empower it, and I didn't want to do that. Thank you, sweetie. And so I just wanted everything out in the open, and just to normalize it more, make it easier to deal with. What's
As you
wrong?
can tell, we're a busy family. Needy
Up, down,
family.
up, down.
I'd like to also add, in terms of just everything over the years on how with kidney disease and how all the research has, I guess, progressed, and with us even being able to have dialysis, I'm just so grateful and so blessed to, have a machine that's able to keep my husband alive. And, it could be the other way, right? So I just feel very grateful. And Nicholas has definitely been taking it, really well. And I sometimes forget that he has kidney disease, because he's just always such a positive person. And I just think that that's such an important, crucial part. And, show kidney disease who's boss, and just.
I still feel blessed. I've been on dialysis for a year, and it's been going well. I have great nurses, wonderful nurses, especially you, Liz. But I'm quite happy with how things are going. It is tough some days. I do have bad days, I gotta be honest. But we take the rough with the smooth and just try to be positive, because I know that when our kids get older, that's what they'll remember, is the warmth and the joy in the house, and not the kidney disease. So that's my plan, is to make the love be the highlight and not the PKD.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Dr. Claremont, do you have any questions for us?
Yes, I would like to ask, anybody else in the family, your brothers and sister are sick?
Yes, my dad.
No, your dad is.
My dad is on dialysis, and
Okay.
so I kind of knew it was coming even before I was diagnosed.
Okay. So
and I knew, and even so, when I was diagnosed, Jaden, my son, he was 12 at the time. So he saw my dad on dialysis, his grandfather, and then he could sort of put two and two together. Even if I don't tell him, like, these kids, they see and they just learn, you really can't hide anything from them.
No,
I feel.
It was out in the open, huh? The fact that it was in the family, you open it right away. Okay. And I was wondering, when he says he has sometimes, your husband says he has sometimes bad days, what does he do?
When you have bad days?
Oh, when I have bad days, I pray, and I do music. Music is my therapy.
Well, that's good.
I'm a man of faith, so my prayers turned to poems and poems turned to songs. And then now I became a musician, and it's been so therapeutic for me. It's helped me a
Okay.
lot. Mhm.
Okay, that's good. And you kept it going, huh? You didn't stop.
Oh
You
no,
kept it. Okay.
I kept going. I kept
Can't get
going.
enough.
Okay, that's good.
Album
That's
coming
good.
soon. Stay tuned.
Okay. So anything else you would like to tell us
Well,
about?
I was worried a little bit about, so when my dad went on dialysis, he came into retirement, so his life wasn't altered too much. Where I
Okay.
was working at the time and I have young kids, so it was the dynamics were a bit different. So I
Mhm.
was a little bit worried about how I was gonna manage, but we're doing really well. I'm quite
Okay.
pleased with how everything is going.
That's where the teamwork comes into play.
Mhm.
Huge communication. You know, when he's not feeling well, to be open with me, and sometimes I can even just see it on him, and
Yeah.
take a nap in the day, and and um, just work it that way. So
Work.
Okay. Teamwork, communication, that's very
Yes,
good.
yeah,
And keep joy and love in the house.
for sure.
Very
absolutely.
good. And being positive about
Yeah.
the.
That's a
Okay.
big one.
Yes, yes. So that was great. We'll talk to Loy now, and you'll have question afterwards, I'm sure. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you
So
for
thank
having
you,
us.
Dr. Clement.
very good. Thank you for your presentation and your kids also. Uh, they're part of the team actually. Huh?
They are. They are.
Yeah.
Look, she's happy to be a part of the team.
Yeah, he's a cutie.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
And now I'm going to go over to Loy, who's the father of two not grown up, early teenager, I would say, Loy.
Yeah,
Huh?
preteens. Yeah.
And so you will tell us and show us picture and how did you
Mhm.
manage through your kidney disease and
Yeah,
your
yeah.
family life. Okay.
Thanks, Dr. Clement. So hi everyone, I'm Loy. I'm going to focus my presentation mainly on the time that I was doing dialysis, which was in 2020 and 2021. I have been transplanted since April of last year, but I wanted to focus my presentation about my time during dialysis. So when I went into dialysis, or when I knew I was going to go into dialysis, it was just, I was really scared, and I got some support from the Kidney Foundation, and I knew I wanted to fight this as hard as I could. And especially for my family, I have polycystic kidney disease as well, and it can be hereditary. And one of the things that I wanted to show to my kids and to my family is that I'm going to get through this. And I wanted to make sure that I could still live an active lifestyle. I'm big on the outdoors, camping, hiking, canoeing, and I still wanted to find a way to do all those things with my kids. During dialysis, they were 8 and 9. And so in terms of the picture that you're seeing here, this is at a popular provincial park called Grundy. We go to this park probably every other year. And the method of dialysis that I chose by accident happened to be PD dialysis. And one of the ways that you can do this type of dialysis is using these bags. Typically, you would be doing this at home, but I was able to find a safe way to do this in the car. So the bag that's hanging on the top of the car, and I think I'm having the liquid fill into me. Yeah, I'm having the liquid fill into me. My wife is in the background in the purple. And this method really allowed me to go outdoors and do the things that I love, which is camping. We'll go to the next slide. So again, I mentioned I wanted to make sure my kids had a really great experience. in terms of outdoor activities. This is us hiking. I think this was at Mono Cliff Hills or around Mono. And we had some other family friends join us. And again, one of the big things that I struggle with during dialysis is energy. And one of the ways that I've been able to sort of overcome that, especially when we go on trips like this, is I usually made a deal with my wife where we would do a trip like this, and then she would be the one driving back home, and I'd usually have to go home to take a nap after these type of outings. When I was on dialysis, I used to nap probably 2 to 3 hours a day, and so trying to find the energy to do these kind of activities was always a struggle. But I always did my best to try to put a smiley face on and have the kids see that I could still do these activities with a smile on. I really wanted them to see a positive outlook from me, so that way when they look back on these times, they can remember that, oh yeah, Dad did still take us out even though he was doing dialysis. Next slide. A bunch of things going on here. In terms of getting a puppy, we got a puppy a couple years ago. My son really wanted one, and we're not a dog family at all. But he proved by walking every single day that he could keep up with the demands of having a pet like a dog. And we ended up finding a breeder, and we ended up getting a puppy. The middle picture, another thing that I wanted to do with my kids is let them see what other dialysis patients are doing. On the right here, the bearded fella, that's Joseph Gallagher. He's very active in the Kidney Foundation, doing a lot of facilitation and peer support. And we, pardon me, we happened to go camping, and Joseph was nearby. And I just said, hey, if you can stop by, come stop by. So he came by and hung out with us for the afternoon and evening. And again, the kids were able to see 2 kidney patients just in the outdoors, just enjoying themselves. And I thought it was important that they got a chance to meet another kidney patient. On the far right, so a couple years ago, I had to take some time off in November just to kind of burn some vacation time. And I think jokingly, I think I told my wife, oh, maybe I'll do the flooring. And then she said, that's a great idea. And I said, well, no, I'm joking. I don't think I could do the flooring. And she said, no, I'll help you. And, we could definitely do it. And so she helped a little bit. She works shifts, and she was able to wake up in the morning at around 5, help me for about an hour. And then I was left to work on this for the whole day. And this was the biggest project where I almost bailed on this project. I remember somewhere around this time when I was laying some flooring down, I thought to myself, I don't think I can finish this, not by myself. I remember thinking, what friend can maybe help me finish this? And I ended up not calling anybody and just finishing this flooring myself. And to this day, when I walk on this floor, I still can't believe I did it. And I wanted to prove that I could do something like this, and show the kids again that if you pace yourself, anything is possible. This renovation probably would only take 3 or 4 days. I would guesstimate maybe 5 days. It took me almost 4 weeks to get this done, a full week off of work, and then 4 weekends to get the flooring done on the main floor, and just the main floor. So it took a long time, but now it's done, and now I can enjoy it. And again, I do hope the kids in the future, see inspiration in what I was able to do while I was on dialysis. Is there one more slide, or is that the last one? Yeah, it's the last one. Yeah, so during the winter as well, we try to stay active. The kids love skiing and skating. In terms of this ski trip was at Blue Mountain. It was the first time I was able to bring my dialysis machine. And again, just a great example of how I'm able to get my treatments done, but stay active. The dialysis I did was at night, so I was able to enjoy the whole day, take a nap when I needed to take a nap, and then be with the kids during the day. A couple other things that I wanted to talk about, other than doing stuff outdoors with my kids, related to something that Nicholas talked about regarding, being transparent, and that's something that I also want to echo. When I got my catheter, which is a plastic tube sticking out of my stomach, it was around winter time. So I was wearing, a couple layers, and the kids couldn't see the actual catheter. But I told them that I got the catheter surgery, and I asked them if they wanted to see it. Initially, they did not want to see it. As the warmer months came, I was wearing a t-shirt, and you could see the bulge in my stomach where the catheter was. And I asked again, do you want to see it? And they said, okay. And I slowly started showing it to them. And more often, I would show my catheter, and I would show my machine, and I would talk about, how this machine helps filter out my blood, and give them as much knowledge as possible. They were only 8 and 9, so they couldn't understand everything, but I think it's important to show them, how far treatments have come along, and what they're able to do to ensure you have an active lifestyle. I remember my son wondering about, does it hurt, and things of that nature, and I told him, no, it doesn't. And I also showed them what a polycystic kidney disease kidney looks like, so that way they can get sort of a frame of reference as to, why is it so big? Why do your kidneys not work? Giving them some detail around that. And the other point I wanted to make is my wife was extremely integral with the welfare of our child. Once I started dialysis, my wife really had to take on a lot of the responsibilities of taking care of these kids. These pictures are just a small snapshot of how busy they are. They're extremely busy with a lot of after school programs that they're involved in, and my wife would be the one driving them. I couldn't, like I said, I had to take naps every single day. Usually after work, I would take a nap, and so my wife was just incredibly active in their welfare. Of course, now that I'm transplanted, I'm more involved. I think that's it. I'll send this back to Dr. Cormack. Thank you.
I enjoy your talk so much, and how you handle your family life and your kids, and you prove to yourself you were able to renovate. That's good. That's good. And so it was teamwork at your house too, huh? It was.
Yeah, it was. There's, my wife, she pushed me really, she pushed me a lot. When you go through dialysis and you have energy issues, the thing that you want to do is just lie down. That's all I wanted to do, was get my treatments done and lie down. And my wife always said, if you lie down, you're going to let life pass by you. And so I need you to be here. I need you to do this. And thank goodness she did push me, because now I have all these memories. The kids have all these memories. And it was really important that she did push me. I mean, there was no, if obviously I wasn't feeling well and I couldn't do something, then yes, right? But 90% of the time I was able to, take the kids out or pick them up, or, the renovation, that was huge. Yeah.
Okay. So thanks to your wife then. Okay.
Yeah, big thanks to my wife. Yes.
Yes. And how did your kids learn about your disease? Was there out in the open when you started dialysis, or did they knew beforehand?
Yeah, they really didn't know until I started dialysis.
Okay.
And the reason why is, with polycystic kidney disease, for me, I didn't know when I would need to start dialysis. It was going on for about 10 years from the initial diagnosis to the filtration being low enough there. I have to start thinking about, dialysis, PD, hemo, what have you. And once I made the decision and had the surgery, then I told the kids, because there's no turning back when you get that surgery.
No.
Right. And also like with PD dialysis, I did it at home. All of the medical supplies are being shipped to your home. So they're seeing boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff coming to my home. I'm having to move it. And so, yeah, I mean, it was good for them just to understand what's happening here. Like, why is there so much stuff being needed? And it's because, I have to take care of myself in a different way now.
Were they worried? Did they seem anxious or?
Not really. I think because they were 8 and 9 years old, I think it's a little bit emotionally, they just didn't see the connection per se, that like this is really, really serious.
Okay.
I think they were a little bit, I don't know if it's innocent or naive, but regardless, I did share with them, why I needed these medical supplies and why I needed to do this treatment.
Okay. And they just took it in stride, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, I think there were more, if I can say the term freaked out, they were a little more freaked out about the plastic tube coming out of my stomach. Like that was like visually, I think that's when they realized there's something wrong with dad. Like,
Okay.
I think that was when it really hit them, like, oh my goodness, like he's got a plastic tube coming out of his tummy. And over time they got used to seeing it. And it didn't, but initially I remember when my youngest, who was 8 at the time, he was about 5 feet away. He didn't come any closer to look at it.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
so.
So it took a
Did
little
they-
bit of time.
Yes. But being open with both of them at the same time, because you talk to the oldest one and not to the younger, you realize something is odd. Did they ask about the fact that the disease could be in the family? Or did they ask?
They didn't ask about it. We always tell them that. We always tell them
Okay.
in terms of their nutrition. My wife is on top of their nutrition to just understand that, some foods could contribute to, it could affect kidney function down the road. Like we don't try to scare them, but we definitely try to lean them towards being understanding of different foods groups. They eat very well balanced meals, and that's
Okay.
really the important piece, and not to be afraid of any specific food,
Okay.
but to have a balanced approach to their diet, whether it's
Okay.
like candy or red meat or whatever it is, just to have a balance really.
Okay.
And yeah.
That's good. Well, so how is it now that you're transplanted?
Oh, yeah,
Day and night?
yeah. If I was to turn back the clock to when, I first got the diagnosis of polycystic kidney disease, that's how I feel, essentially.
Okay.
I go to the gym 3 times a week. I went camping already after transplant in September of last year. And that trip that I took, oh my goodness, it was night and day.
Okay. So you're back to your old self. That's good.
Yeah, and the kids the kids feel it as well. Like my oldest plays basketball regularly, and so I'm able to attend his practices, attend his games. We just went to London recently where we had a tournament to go to. I'm very, very active with his schedule. And I don't know if I could be that active while I was on dialysis.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so enjoy. That's great. Okay. So now we're gonna turn to Marie-Ève. Thank you, Loy. We'll have some more questions for you later.
Bonsoir.
Oui, bonsoir Marie-Ève. Alors,
Bonsoir. Donc,
Good evening, Marie-Ève. Good evening. First, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Marie-Ève. I'm 37 years old. I started dialysis in September of 2000. It was for a non-determined reason. I received a transplant in 2001. It's going to be 22 years since I got the transplant. It was a deceased donor. Afterwards, I had really good conditions, no issues after the transplant. And a few years later, I decided to have children with my partner. He was worried that my children would have the same disease eventually. But I wasn't known to have a hereditary disease proper. So we decided to go ahead and have children without that fear. After a long process, it was high risk pregnancy. I was monitored by the specialists during my first pregnancy, and I had my first daughter. Then 2 years later, we tried again. I had a second child with very close monitoring by high risk pregnancy specialists, and the delivery went well. I had a beautiful daughter, and today my daughters are 7 and 5. The transplant was there before my children came, and so for them it's completely natural. There hasn't been any period of adaptation. I think they just grew up knowing my disease just as normal children. I tried to always keep drugs safe and stored away from while they were 0 to 5 years old. That's the precaution you take. As far as the medical appointments go, my children have come with me. I go to the nephrologist and they can come with me, just like when we go for the pediatrician for them, or to the eye doctor. There are no questions. I get my a nurse care. I get my blood drawn at home, and so children have seen nurses come into the house since they were young. They weren't afraid of anything. I have two very beautiful and mature daughters, and so that's good. And just like others have said before, I think being transparent and open is what's key. I asked a few questions to my daughters and to see what they thought a bit. I asked my youngest why I was taking medication. And she said my disease is something that cannot be cured. And so that's why I had to take medication every day. And her little 7-year-old mind, that's how she sees this. And then my eldest told me that it was so my lungs could function. I don't know where she got the lungs part, but that was a bit funny. Instead of saying kidney, she said lungs. And then I asked if my medication was something she was curious about, if she would have felt curious to try them secretly. But she said no to her. It was toxic to her, but it was essential to my health. And so that's how my eldest perceives it. I've had a very great transplant journey. I've been very lucky in life. There, I haven't experienced separation within my family because of hospitalization, other than when I was giving birth at the hospital. So I haven't also dealt with a transplant or dialysis, and so and having to go to hospital for that. So it's not the same experience for someone who just received a transplant and has to go to the hospital more frequently. I cook a lot, and when it comes to food, I don't buy processed foods. And my children also like that. And besides cooking with fresh herbs and not using too much salt, I don't really have any rules. My my eldest will add salt, and uh, she will add salt to her fries. That's really the only thing she's into. But Loy, as Loy has said, I think it was Loy, everything is a matter of balance. So that was about it. Thank you. So your eldest daughter understands the nature of your medication. It's really clear to her that it could be toxic for her, but that you need those medications yourself. You've never mentioned what could have happened either. Do they understand that you have an organ that replaces your two organs? When they were six, each of them separately, I started having that conversation with them. And so I think that they understand, but not quite fully yet. I think when they become, I think young teenagers, maybe then they will better understand our system's organic functions, and so they might be able to better understand. We were playing a board game, with their family, and you had to move pawns on like the different various organs, and then they know my kidneys don't function, but they're still very young. And it, of course, they happened before you had your daughters. It's not the same as going through dialysis. Um, are there any things in your family life, specific things that you do because you're a transplant recipient besides cooking with herbs? Yes, but outside of cooking, I will always pay attention to my diet. I think having my family around, as long as they cook without too much salt, that's really the thing in our daily life. We have certain activities, for example, climbing. I can't do climbing because of the harness, but I will be there and just supervise, and it doesn't really impact my family other than for the fact that I won't be participating in. I don't really have any restrictions. I've had a really great transplant journey, and I'm very thankful for that life journey, and the fact that I don't have any restrictions or impacts on my family. I don't see any negative impacts on my family, only positives.
All your cleanliness, the mask we wore, washing your hands, it's part of your family life. Yes, it is. So with the stomach flu, it's everywhere in daycare. The first years of daycare, first year of preschool, dad, it was a dad who washed the bathroom, not me, because I didn't want to get sick. Was more sensitive. But it's part of our day-to-day life. COVID, uh, they were young. I know you're beautiful little girls. Thank you, Marie-Ève.
So if anyone of the panelists wants to ask question to the other one. Yes, Beata. Yes, and Nicholas.
I have a question for Loy. I noticed you're quite handy. Can you describe, which is great, of course. Can you describe your energy levels, how they change pre-transplant versus after transplant?
Yeah. You know, during this, it's almost 6 o'clock right now. And this is the time where I would be asleep. So I have a desk job and I normally work, you know, 8 to 4, 9 to 5. As soon as I log off from work and I shut my laptop down, I go straight to bed. And so from 4 to 6, 4 to 7, I would be in bed. And you know, as soon as I got my transplant, I didn't need to nap much, maybe once a week.
Mm.
And it's that sudden. It's like it's your creatinine nosedives.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Immediately. It's like if you check your labs online, you know, like the graphs. Like I check my labs all the time back when I was doing that. I still check my labs. So, you know, when I got the transplant, I woke up, they're doing blood work every day. I naturally just go to the portal and it literally is like a cliff going down.
Okay, nice.
Your creatinine, it's remarkable. So, and your whole mindset changes. Like, because you're going in for a kidney and you get this kidney, your whole mindset changes. Like it's remarkable. I don't even know. There's no words I can describe what it feels like.
Is it like new life? I'm just, because I find myself, I'm taking naps quite a bit right now.
Yeah. And I remember I used to try to fight the naps at the beginning, but then I realized, like with the help of my partner, like I got to take these naps because like I only have so much energy. And I still needed to make dinner or like do one more thing before I go to bed. So if I don't take the nap, I may not have enough energy to get food. And then you run into this other problem where you're not getting enough nutrition. And so the naps like were just so critical that I had to build them in. Like I said, it was like clockwork for me back then.
I see.
Yeah. So the transition was amazing to say the least. And leading up to the transplant, all I thought was all the great things that I'd be doing with the new kidney. That's all I thought leading up to that transplant. Like I didn't even think about what if something happens, you know, during surgery. Like I never thought about those things because you're in great hands. Like any transplant center that does you're in great hands.
Very devoted surgeon and physician and nurses. Everybody is very devoted, for sure. It's yes, and I see that the naps are. It goes on the fact that your partner has to be involved, you know, a little more because they have to. The kids are running around, and supper time is usually a bit crazy in some houses. And
I feel like any normal person needs a nap.
Yes.
Any healthy person. Even you.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Loy. I appreciate that. You seem like a great guy. I wouldn't mind getting your contact information.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. Yeah, I'd love to hang out with my wife and my family and you guys. That'd be really amazing.
For
Yeah,
sure.
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
We like to hike. We like to hike for sure.
Camping and stuff.
There's one question about the kids that you have in the house running around, and when you come back from your transplant surgery and they go to school or kindergarten or whatever, is there a lot of bugs in the house with the kids? How do you deal with that?
Oh yeah, you're talking about viruses, right? Like bugs,
bacteria, virus. gastro. And Marie-Ève, you can jump in after. Yeah. How did you deal with that? They were still small when you got your transplant.
Yeah. We have a bit of a unique setup in my case. So when pardon me, when you know, when I knew I was going to start dialysis, we ended up, my wife ended up asking help from her parents who live just 10 minutes away,
Okay.
to help care for the kids.
Okay.
And so there was, so Monday, I think it was Monday to Friday, the kids stayed with the in-laws, like full time. And my wife would go there after school to see the kids and take care of the kids. I was here at home and I would be predominantly taking care of myself. And it felt weird at the beginning, but it was just something we had to do to kind of get through this like dialysis period. And it worked for us. It just worked for us. So there was this separation, and that's how we essentially dealt with it. I never got sick while I was on dialysis. I didn't get any virus during COVID. I never got a cold or a flu. You know, I was just lucky from that standpoint.
And after the transplant, just after, when you're very sensitive to infection, when it did go all right?
I quarantined myself for 2 months
Okay,
right after transplant, because you know the kids were still at the in-laws, and so we've yet to figure out a transition plan actually to have the kids come back here, but
Yes.
we'll see.
Okay. And Nicholas, are you on the list yourself? Are you on the kiddie list?
I'm doing a workup right
Okay.
now. Yeah.
Okay.
Actively looking for my donor.
Oh,
I know you're out there
okay.
somewhere.
AB negative?
Yeah.
Oh, AB negative, yeah.
Well, Nicholas, I have a question for you. How did you choose hemo over, like, how did you choose your dialysis method? Just curious.
So my dad did hemo, and
Currently doing.
so I saw him, and it sort of led me down that path. I thought about peritoneal. That's the one in the stomach, right?
Yeah.
I was concerned about
Water.
infections and water, and so and I like the idea of being amongst nurses and like you know,
And just
like
also, yeah, in the home with
like
young
in-
children at this point in time, it's a little, we just decided that it would be a little bit rough in terms of just having young children that can, you know, come into the room and like
Yeah,
it just wasn't
our house isn't big enough for home
that too,
hemo
yeah.
yet, but I felt better being in like a hospital setting, you know, in case anything went wrong.
Mhm.
Okay.
You did have a few occurrences.
And Marie-Ève, comment t'as fait quand t'avais tes enfants?
What did you do when you had your children in school and preschool with germs and virus and flus and bugs? I think it's also a matter of habits. When we got home, we washed our hands right away, just like after shopping, they drop their bag, they go to the bathroom, wash their hands. It's a life habit. They don't even doing it consciously. They don't know why they do it because it's a habit. I get home from work, I wash my hands. They're to be more cautious when someone is sick. So it's a matter of caution. Before COVID, I was wearing a mask. When I go to my medical appointments, I always wore a mask, even if I've had my transplant for a while, and I was always very cautious with a mask. I wore it naturally. I was always very, very careful. My children didn't wear a mask before COVID, but we were always very careful with hand washing and hygiene in general.
Est-ce qu'il y en a qui vous, les panélistes, anyone about any other question to the other panelists? No? We have a couple of questions in the Q&A. Did any of you do genetic testing for your pregnancy to check for hereditary kidney disease in advance for your kids? Well, before the pregnancy and in your kids, or was that an option? Was that offered to you? Marie-Ève, I know that your husband was a bit worried about the nature of your kidney disease. But did you do any tests or was that offered to you?
Non, c'est pas quelque chose qui m'a été offert quand j'ai été suivie pour la grossesse.
Okay.
It wasn't offered to me when I was followed for the pregnancy, when I was pregnant. There was a follow-up with me and not for the baby. My pediatric doctor, who knew my history, took blood samples to check for everything. But I also know the symptoms. I'm very attentive to, I would be attentive if my daughter had a symptom that I could detect something. I would go to the doctor right away. And I also know that I have support to get the things going. But for now, no, it wasn't offered to me. But it's not a genetic disease. My disease wasn't genetic. So maybe that's why it wouldn't have been, that's why we didn't go that way.
Raised your hand? Go ahead.
I had some genetic testing done. My grandmother had 10 children. I have 10 aunts and uncles, well, 9 now. But we have a rare form of PKD. It's AD PKD, like the adult kind. It showed up much later in life, and we don't know, like the healthcare professionals, they don't know a lot about it. So I did some genetic testing. I had some blood sent to a lab in Boston. Still waiting to hear back.
Okay.
So my nephrologist said that, we don't really know a lot about kidneys. We're still discovering things.
Oh, yes. Do you did you have your oldest son tested, or are you talking about that in the house?
We also have sickle cell in our family. I have
Okay.
a sickle cell trait,
Trait.
and that's another disease that we don't know a lot about. So although I have the trait, my sickle cell number is high. So I do have symptoms of sickle cell anemia. And what I found growing up is, it's because I just have the trait, it's like I sort of just brushed under the rug because it's not the actual anemia. But we're finding that people that have a high number of trait, they could suffer the symptoms. So Jaden, my son, although he just has the trait, he has like 46, his number is. So he's right on the brink of anemia. So he has sickle cell fits and he's having some health issues.
Okay.
And, he's being seen by sick kids. But as I say, they don't know a lot about the sickle cell anemia. So it's all new information.
And Loy, what about you?
Yeah, my wife and I, we've talked about getting our kids tested, and we're really reluctant because it's not any information that would really change.
Nope.
Like anything, like the kids are growing and developing. Even myself, I discovered high blood pressure when I was in my early 20s, and thankfully I did discover that because I was able to get medicated. But PKD, I didn't really find out until later on in my mid 30s. And then it took 10 years before I ended up starting dialysis. So it's a matter of like, do you want to worry about it now, or like worry about it later? Like, is it going to make a difference now? I don't know. So we ended up deciding not checking for polycystic kidney disease, and just wait till they're 18, and then we'll go from there. They have regular checkups though, obviously, with
and blood pressure measurement.
Blood pressure, yeah, they get regular
That's
checkups
the
for
only
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, is there any other question, Philippe or Michelle? You see any other question? No, that was about it. So did any of you, maybe not Marie-Ève, because the kidney transplant was so far before the pregnancy, did you ever need professional help? Did you ask social worker support with your kids or things like that?
Not myself. No, we didn't get any support per se because of my kidney. But I do want to stress again that, without the help of my in-laws to, take care of the kids with my wife, I don't know how we would have been able to manage, at that age, and still to this day, they just have a lot of extracurricular activities after school. And it takes a lot of time to drive, stick around, wait till they're like, it's just, it's a lot of care that's needed. So with that help, it allowed me to really develop a lot of self-care for myself, so that I could, make it through. One thing that I didn't mention about my journey through dialysis is that I got the call for a kidney after a year. So that was relatively quick, and much quicker than I would have imagined. I was in shock when I got the call. I almost didn't go to the hospital when I got the call. Thank goodness my wife was next to me and said, "Yeah, he'll be there. Don't worry, he'll be there." And because I was just so much in shock, I was about to go into tears, and because I always thought I wasn't going to get the call until like 3 years down the road, and then to get a call, it's sudden when these calls come. Right? It was like 10 o'clock on a Sunday. And I remember telling the kids, I gotta go. I might get a kidney. I'm not sure. And, it really, it brings things into different perspective when, there's like, I knew now when I got that first call, I knew I'm going to get a kidney. Like I knew for sure I'm going to get a kidney. I just need to survive the next 3 months, 6, whatever it is. I just need to survive now until I get the kidney. Like, it's like you could see the end of the line, right? And I just need to cross that finish line. When I got that call, I knew I was going to get the kidney. And it took about a little over a year until the first call. And then throughout the whole time, I would tell the kids, I could get a call today. You never know. Today could be the day I get the kidney. You never know. And it brought a lot of hope to our family, knowing that, what, like, there's going to be an end. The first year before getting that call, it was a lot of adjustment for the whole family. And we were able to adjust very quickly with the help of my in-laws. And things were able to be less disruptive. But that getting that call that quickly was really great.
How did the kids reacted?
Yeah, in terms of like the transplant, I guess.
Yes, the phone call.
Yeah, they were. I think. I mean, they're not very expressive per se. So, like, obviously, I was. My wife and I were happier about the whole situation. But, I mean, they when they saw me coming out of the hospital, they knew I had changed. Right? Like, I didn't have a plastic tube coming out of my stomach anymore, because they were able to take that out immediately, because the kidney was able to work immediately on the surgery table. And so, like, that was huge when they saw that. Right? And also the big scar.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I think they were just overall excited. I mean, they're more excited now because they see
They see the results.
they see the results and they see it sustained over time, right? It's not like, oh yeah, he's back, but he might have to go back to dialysis, right? It's more like that time was a chapter that had passed.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I would say I have a deeper connection now with my kids because I'm more active with them.
Yes, for sure.
Right, and they're growing too. They were 8 and 9, and now they're 11 and 12. They're maturing, and so they're I guess just understanding situations a little bit better.
Yes, so that's a call we want, huh, Marie-Ève? Yeah, I was there when Marie-Ève got her call, huh? So it's always something. Okay, any
Oui.
other question? There's one person in the chat that had a 4th transplant, and she or he says he's not so great. He still has to take naps or whatever. But the function of the kidney is important also. Sometimes you get a kidney and the function is not that great. It keeps you out of dialysis, but the creatinine is not that low. But the good kidney, the creatinine can go from 1,000 to 60 in 3-4 days. 60, 70. Oh yes, it's really something. In kids, when you put an adult kidney in a little kids, the creatinine goes down to 30. It's oh yes, oh yes. So, any other question from the floor, or maybe question in the chat? No. Okay. So I think you did, when I was giving my little slide at first, I think you did what's good, being very, very open at all ages. And because kids, they do sense and they do know when something is wrong. They feel the tension between the parents and with the extended family also. So you have to be open. You cannot, and if you can show your scars and your tube like you did, Nicholas and Loy, that's good too. But at their own pace. If they don't want to see it, it's okay. And I think it gives to them a lot of good health habits, the diet and the exercise and everything. And that's good. And it makes them more empathique. Je sais pas si la traductrice peut traduire ça. Towards others, and enjoy life, one day at the time. And it's great. That's a good lesson in life. Very good one. When you're a doctor, you learn that quick, not because you're sick, but you're taking care of people who were just well the day before. So you learn that, take care of every day. So any other question? I think we are going to, let me see, I have a script here. So we're very thankful to you all for sharing your thoughts and your ideas. And I think you're a very good role model for that, for living kidney disease in a family with small kids. It's important to go on. It's important to ask for help if you can't do it by yourself, because support is important also. Extended family, as you, Loy, friends or family, you need help. And you need to learn how to ask. That's another lesson from kidney disease. You have to learn how to ask for help in sport. OK. Alors, Philippe, est-ce que tu veux finir la session?
So, Philip, do you want to close us off?
Hello, Philippe?
Are you here? Yes. So I think if there are no more questions, then we're probably nearing the end of our session. It's been very, very informative. I really wanted to thank everyone very warmly for your beautiful stories. And thank you to our audience as well for joining us on the session.